You're in a meeting. You make a point, and 3 seconds later, a colleague talks right over you. It happens constantly. Here's the thing, it's rarely because your idea was bad. It's because of a micro habit in how you delivered it. Today, we're breaking down 5 subtle communication leaks that destroy your authority at work, and exactly how to fix them starting today. Let's start with the first mistake, the permission preface. Most men do this without realizing it. You want to contribute, so you say, "Can I jump in here?" or "If I may add something." It sounds polite. It sounds respectful. But it completely destroys your authority. Here is what this actually signals to the room. You view yourself as a subordinate asking for the floor, rather than a peer sharing a necessary insight. The problem isn't the question itself. It's the underlying assumption that you need someone else's approval to speak. When you ask for permission, you give them the power to deny it, even if they just do it non-verbally by ignoring you. So, how do you fix this? You remove the ask and replace it with a statement of intent. Instead of saying, "Can I jump in?" you say, "I'd like to add to that." Instead of asking, "If I may add," you simply say, "Building on what John just said." And you start speaking. You can also use a slight volume increase and a direct posture shift to enter smoothly. Notice the difference. You aren't being rude. You aren't interrupting aggressively. You are just removing the friction. You are communicating that your contribution is valuable and expected. But fixing how you enter a conversation is only half the battle. How you defend your boundaries once inside the room is where most men lose their respect. Now, you've stated your decision clearly. But here is where most men lose the room. Mistake number 2, the over-justification. You make a call, and someone pushes back. Instead of holding the line, you start explaining. You give a 3-minute breakdown of your thought process, trying to prove you made the right choice. Here's what most guys do wrong. They think more details equal more authority. It actually equals desperation. When you over-explain a simple no, you are inviting negotiation. You hand the other person a menu of weak points to attack. If you give them 5 different reasons, they only need to defeat one to reopen the debate. This approach is not about being dismissive or rude to your team. It is actually about respecting everyone's time and showing decisive leadership. People trust a leader who knows why they made a choice, not one who has to convince them. The fix is simple. State the decision. Give one brief, factual reason. Then, simply close your mouth. If a colleague questions a project direction, do not give a history lesson. Just say, "We are not going with that vendor because their timeline does not match ours." That is it. One clear reason. Then you stop talking. You let the heavy statement sit in the air. You do not soften it or add, "Does that make sense?" You just calmly hold your ground. Now, you've stated your decision clearly. But what exactly happens in the 3 seconds after you stop talking? Can you sit in 3 seconds of silence without blinking? If not, you are negotiating against yourself. This brings us to mistake number 3, rushing to fill the silence. This is the exact moment most men lose respect without even realizing it. You make a strong point. You state your boundary. And then, the room goes quiet. For most guys, that silence feels incredibly awkward. Your brain panics. You feel this overwhelming urge to soften your statement, add a joke, or just keep talking to ease the tension. But here is what most guys get wrong. They think keeping the conversation flowing makes them a better communicator. It actually signals that you are uncomfortable with your own authority. When you rush to fill the pause, you immediately weaken the very point you just made. The fix is pure emotional regulation. You make your point, and then you physically lean back in your chair. You look the other person in the eye, and you let the silence do the heavy lifting. This is not about playing mind games or intimidating your colleagues. It is simply about being comfortable in your own presence. You are giving the other person the necessary space to process what you just said. The rule here is simple. The first person to speak after a heavy silence usually loses the leverage. Let them be the one to break it. Mastering your verbal presence is critical, but there is a silent leak happening in your inbox right now. You fixed your speech in the room, but there is a silent leak happening in your inbox right now. Mistake number 4 is the weak follow-up. We are talking about email leakage. How many times do you start an email with the word just checking in on this? Or maybe you write, "Sorry to bother you," or maybe we could look at the quarterly report. These minimizing words strip the authority right out of your written requests. You think you are being polite, but you are actually apologizing for taking up space in their inbox. They make your urgent requests look like optional suggestions. This is a massive leak in your professional presence. Here is your immediate action step. Right after this video, open your email sent folder. Search for the word just. Count how many times you used it to soften a direct request. You will be shocked. The fix is simple. Audit your drafts and remove the softeners. Change just following up on this to following up on this. Change sorry to bother you to I am reaching out regarding the file. Now, let me be clear. This is not about being rude. Basic politeness is still required. Please and thank you absolutely stay. We are only removing the words that minimize the actual request. When you write with clarity, people respond with clarity. You fixed your speech and your emails. But there is one final habit that quietly erases your credit when things go well. You finally fixed your speech and your emails. But there is one final habit that quietly erases your credit when things go well. Mistake number 5 is deflecting ownership. When your boss or a client praises you for a specific win, what do? Most men immediately deflect. You say, "Oh, it was a total team effort," or "I just got lucky with the timing." Here is the surprising insight. You think you are being humble. But chronic deflection actually looks like self-erasure. It makes you look like a passenger in your own career, not the driver. If you constantly downplay your role, leadership will start believing you didn't actually do the heavy lifting. There is a massive difference between healthy humility and hiding your competence. You do not need to pretend you did it all alone, but you must own your specific contribution. The fix is to accept the compliment first, and then share the credit. Instead of waving it off, say, "Thank you. I am really proud of how the team executed the strategy one designed." Or, "Thanks. I spent a lot of late nights mapping out that framework, and I am glad it paid off." You clearly acknowledge the win. You validate the team. But most importantly, you claim your exact role in the success. Top-tier leaders do not hide from their achievements. They own them clearly, and they elevate their team while doing it. Which brings us to the core of what authority actually is. Authority isn't about being the loudest guy in the room or acting tough. It is not about dominating conversations or intimidating your colleagues. True authority is simply about removing the friction between what you think and what you actually say. When you stop asking for permission to speak, when you stop explaining your daily decisions, and when you finally get comfortable sitting in silence, something fundamentally shifts in how others view you. People naturally defer to your calm presence. They start listening to what you say, instead of just waiting for you to finish talking. You do not need to change your entire personality. You just need to stop getting in your own way. Step into the room knowing your perspective has real value. Speak with clarity, hold your ground with quiet confidence, and let your proven competence do the talking. That is exactly how you build lasting professional respect.